Hi, this is Kelly from Crafty Kelly's at www.craftykelly.co.uk. I'm bringing you another card from my collection of the Daisy Delight, where I'm showing you lots of different ideas that you can use with just the one stamp set, and maybe just pulling in a couple of other stamps if you've got the stamps from other sets. So this is another kind of one layered wonder, so you don't need much for this card. I have cased this card from another demonstrator called Rosaline, who I believe is in the States, who done a similar card but with a completely different stamp set. So I've taken her idea and made it my own. So should we get started? We're going to do a bit of a masking technique throughout this card, and I'm using pretty much nearly every single stamp in this stamp set to create this. I also have pulled in the tiny little firefly, or I'm using it as a bee, from the Jar of Love set. So this one I'm just borrowing from another set because I just think that it was really cute and went really well with the card that I've created. So the cardstock you're going to need is, I have a small piece of scrap so I can make my little raised sentiment. I have a standard card base which is 14.9 by 10.5, and then I have 5 mils off, so it's 10 centimeters by 14.4. So I'm just going to start in the corner. I've got lots of sticky notes which I've used, so I'm going to reuse these. So just if you've got longer ones, which I can't seem to find, mine are much better for this, but I shall work with what I've got. So I'm going to start by positioning my first layer, trying to make it nice and straight. You could also use washi tape to do the masking if you wanted. Use whatever you've got to hand, to be honest. So every card's not going to be exactly the same because of the way that you position it. The first thing I'm going to do is, as you can tell, I've used several different colours for this. You don't have to use all the colours that I've used. You can try and stick to similar colours or the same colours that you've got. But I'm using the smoky slate as like a little border, and that's what I'm going to start with nearly every section. Dauber and just a little bit of a rub. Now you can make this as dark or as light as you want. I tend to be a bit heavy-handed sometimes with this. I don't mean to be. There we go. So I'm starting with my heather that I've got here. I'm going to use garden green, and I'm going to use rich raspberry. So this is a 2-stamp process. I'm going to start with the stems, and I'm going to start down here and work my way up. And you can add as much or as little as you want at the first stage. So now this is the second step, so adding a little bit of colour to our sprigs. Lovely thing about the photopolymer is they are clear and see-through, so you can line up much easily to create your layered effect. And it's really simple to do. I've kind of got a little bit everywhere because I'm a little bit heavy-handed and this ink pad's a little bit juicy. We will be using this colour again, so I'll pop that to one side as well. That, I shouldn't have rushed it, is our first section done. So I'm going to peel this back, try and keep these together, and now we're going to mask off this section that we've just done. Now I'm not going to put grey on this bottom part. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create my next section up, And I'm going to do the grey. On the top line, and I might do a little bit down the side. So I'm going to move on to my daisy, and I'm going to use crushed curry for this. And if you've watched some of my other videos, I've used this stamp as well. All I'm going to do is turn it to create that full daisy by lining the petals up, lining the centre up. And when I'm happy, there we go, lovely. For the centre I've used pumpkin pie. I'm going to move on to my black now for that centre part. Okay, and now we're going to do the next layer. We're going to need to cover that section up there, and then this section here. And I'm going to need, oop, and I've done the leaves, haven't I? So I'm going to take that across there for the leaves. So we're going to start with the bottom colour, which is Old Olive, which is this one, and I'm just going to take the stamp and turn it different ways. To get the effect, add a little bit in there. I'm just adding little sprigs, fill it in at the sides. There we go. I'm going to move on to the garden green. And once again, we're just lining up and stamping over the top. There we go. So our next section done. And as I'm sure you've got it by now, we're just going to cover up the section we've done. Then create another space for another section. So I've created two here. For this one I've just used, I'm going to do this section here, which is in the Rich Razzleberry. This is one of the stamps which actually meets up with this one, but I'm just using these little flower heads on their own, because I just wanted like one colour in this section. So I'm just going to I've been a bit overzealous with the ink, which is a bit of a juicy pad. I need to be a bit more careful, but I can fix that slightly. I'm just going to use my blender pen, kind of make those into like little dots or something. and add a couple more. So it kind of looks like it's supposed to be like that. There we go, covered up. And there's these 3 little flowers all together, which are quite cute. I've just used Blushing Bride for this. Once again, you could stick to the yellow or the green if you only want to use a couple of colours, or you've only got a couple of colours. So I'm just going to go at a diagonal line. So that is another section done. So I'm going to cover up this so we can fit our bees in. So I've popped my grey outline already. I'm going to use Garden Green for the stems. I'm going to use Crushed Curry, and I'm going to use Daffodil Delight. So I'm going to use the Crushed Curry for the outer line, and then for the colour inside I'm going to use the Daffodil Delight. So this is also a 2-step process. So we're going to do the stems. We're going to need to mask off some of our stems. So I have stamped onto a sticky note with the sticky bit, so I can just stick that over the top while I'm doing my stems, because I don't want to make a right mess. I'll try and do it so I don't have half leaves showing. Oops, sorry, just nudged the camera with my head. I'm gonna just pop that there. I've got a line just there which I'm gonna try and meet this line up with. I'm gonna have leaves everywhere. Done those two a little bit close together. That's okay. Fabulous. Kind of wish I'd got a leaf in there. Let's see if we can stamp over it, get a leaf. Yeah, ish. Just made that stem a little bit thicker. That's fine. So our last little section, I've got our little, what I'm using is bumblebees. And the little bee stamp, like I said, this is from Jar of Love. And I'm going to Start with getting a nice full one in there. Then I'm just going to work my way around. I like they're swarming all over the place. So I'm going to use a blender pen to colour in my little beetles. They're my bees today. I'll move this around so we can see. And I'm going to use crushed curry. I'm going to use a little bit of the basic grey for the wings. So let's do the centre part first. So with my stamp pad, I've literally just squeezed it in the centre. So then I've made a small reservoir of ink just there, which I can work off of. And I'm just going to colour in. And you don't have to be particularly neat about this. I'm just kind of dabbing it in. You can add a bit more colour if you need to. There we go. So run the colour out and we can move on to the grey. I'm just going to kind of little bit in the wings. I'm not colouring it in completely either. I'm literally just adding a very small amount so we can still see a bit of white. There we go. Right, there we go. We've created our lovely background, which looks a little bit like patchwork, and I like a bit of patchwork. I was a little bit over zealous with the ink there, and I pushed down a little bit too hard. But other than that, it looks lovely. So, how I created this is, so I'm just going to punch out a full label using my label punch, and then I'm going to use a piece of scrap card and just cut out two smaller pieces. You can use any bit of offcuts or scraps for this, so you don't have to waste too much card. So I'm just lining it up and I'm just taking off that top part because that's all that's going to be showing. There is a new label punch out. I haven't quite received one yet, it's on its way. So I'll be using that in future. I'm just going to colour this using a dauber and the garden green. I've run out of this colour cardstock, and it's just a way to add a bit of colour to your project if that's what you want. You can use a sponge or a dauber. It's quite a simple technique to do. So now I'm just going to put my sentiment on my full piece of label. And then I'm just going to adhere this together using a bit of Tombow. Just going to apply a small amount to the bottom and to the top. And the reason I'm using Tombow is because it's easy to move and to line up, so you've got a little bit of wiggle room to play with. Although it can get a bit messy, so try not to use too much. And there we go. I've just used some foam pads on the back. I'd usually use dimensionals, but I've run out, so they will do for now to just raise it up, but also it kind of catches the edges so it holds it in place as well. So pop that to one side. Let's grab our card base, which is in the old olive. If I wanted to, I could move where I'm popping my little sentiment to cover up my little mistake, which I will do there, because then you're not going to notice it as much. And then I'm going to tie myself a little bow. Pop it there, pop it down there, pop it up there. I'm just going to grab some glue dots. I'm going to pop glue dot there. I'm going to pop 3 on and a line slightly spaced out. If it wants to stick. I'm going to just pop my bow in the centre of that. Then I'm going to get the bottom part of my bow with my tool just pressed down on the glue dot, and then the same on the other side. Press down on the glue dot, and then you can just raise your bow up. So the very last bit that we've got is a couple of gems. I'll go for these slightly smaller ones. You can add as many of these as you want. I just always add about 3. So there we go. If you want to add a bit more sparkle, a bit of Wink of Stella, and just do middles of the flowers. Try not to go too mad because it is water based and it will move the ink and blend it, so be a little bit careful. And so I've just added a little bit of glimmer to a few little points. As you can see, it's just slightly moved the ink and blended it. So there we go. This has been another card from my Daisy Delight stamp set collection. So this stamp set and how many cards I can make using it. I think this is a really fun card to do. A little more time consuming, but I hope you've enjoyed today. Let me know comments below. Like and share the video if you like it. Otherwise, this has been Kelly from Crafty Kellys at www.craftykelly.co.uk. Find out more information there. Thanks, bye.